It's been a year and a half since Haruno Sakura proposed and launched the Children's Therapy Center, and they are seeing definite results. I believe they should receive a greater share of the budget for the next term. At this statement from Kakashi, the daimyo at the head of the table stroked his chin thoughtfully. His face said what he was thinking, but Kakashi knew that he wasn't actually setting his brain to any kind of real work. His only thought was likely a prayer that the boring meeting would soon end. This particular boring meeting was at the daimyo's mansion, mostly to discuss budget allocations. In addition to the daimyo, the land's senior officials, the Hokage Kakashi, advisors Homura and Koharu, and senior members of the Anbu were in attendance. Shizune was also present as a senior member of the medical team. I'd like to hear a few more details about this from Haruno Sakura, but she's currently not in the village. Is that right? It was Koharu who spoke. Kakashi nodded. She's gone to Suna with Yamanaka Ino. She wanted to report the current status of the Children's Therapy Center to Suna's medical personnel and exchange ideas with them. If a similar system is introduced in Suna or some other village, we might be able to do collaborative research, Shizune added from the seat next to Kakashi. In which case, we believe that we will be able to provide even more comprehensive care for the children. What will you do about the budget for the Anbu? Came the flat interjection from a man sitting diagonally across from Kakashi. Sumiki Kido, senior Anbu member and leader of several teams. He was about the same age as Kakashi. He had a distinctive face, with an aquiline nose and sharp eyes. Next to him was a man named Magire, an aide of sorts. The therapy center has been given more than sufficient funds. Kido continued, if they have really seen solid results, then it would seem to me that they have no need of a larger budget. Hmm? The sticky tail end of his sentence was hard on the ears. They need funds to maintain the system and further develop it, Shizune said sharply. Well, then, I would appreciate it if we could also consider the maintenance and development of the Anbu, Kido said and turned his gaze on Kakashi. His eyes were cold. Kakashi, excuse me, Hokage, there has been a downward trend in terms of the budget allocated to the Anbu these past 2 years. Is this, in the end, really the correct choice, I wonder? At the very least, I think it is, Kakashi replied. Ha ha ha! Kido laughed theatrically. I wouldn't think those were the words of the Hokage. Hmm? The Anbu are under the direct control of the Hokage. That the Hokage himself would try to pare down their budget? And you yourself are a former Anbu member, are you not? I'm saying we have priorities. So, taking care of children is more important than the Anbu? I honestly can't understand that. I can't. In the first place, Kido raised his voice. This method of children recovering from mental trauma through talk therapy is interminable. And for that, you are training specialists. It's so circuitous. If you're going to treat them, simply give them some medication and free them from the symptoms of their issues. Sure, medication's another way of doing it, but the idea here is not to pick one or the other. Kakashi noted. Maguire. Shizune spoke to the man at Kido's side. You're a medical ninja, yes? Do you share Kido's way of thinking? Maguire turned his face toward his interlocutor. With his pale coloring and monocle, he gave the impression of being the academic type. I have no intention of denying the fact that you are relieving the anxieties of the children through therapy. But considering the efficiency and certainty, I have concluded that treatment through dispensation of medication is more rational. That is all. He turned his face forward once more. Efficiency, rational. Kido picked up where his aide left off. Those are good words. In fact, that is what medical treatment and budgets should be. There's a limit to how much money there is, and I believe it should be allocated to those things that are truly for the sake of the village. Hmm? We're in a time of peace. The world's not in any kind of emergency situation, Kakashi noted. I personally don't feel the need to set aside such a large amount of money for the Anbu these days. In times of peace, prepare for war, as the old saying goes. It's precisely because we are in a time of peace that we must assume that there will be unrest again in the world. And Kido cut himself off, as if to lend an air of importance to his words. He then persisted with a cold smile. Are we really able to say that we are at peace right now? Everyone here is aware that the daimyo and Master Homura were assaulted the other day. Naturally, the Anbu must shoulder the blame for that, given that we were not able to fulfill our duty to protect the daimyo. However, this is precisely why I believe that strengthening the Anbu is an urgent matter, is it not? Clever presentation, that. Kakashi was a bit daunted, but Kido was, in fact, correct. Kakashi couldn't find any fault to quibble over. Well, I think Kido's making a sensible request. The daimyo trailed off and turned his gaze toward Homura. "You decide" was written all over his face. Arms crossed, doubtful look on his face, Homura let out a long breath. "I'm at fault too for letting those thugs get the jump on me. I realize this sounds like an excuse, but the men who attacked me were fairly competent. I have to admit that an ominous wind has been blowing through the village." Homura looked first at Kido, then Kakashi, before continuing. "We put together the budget for the next term with a priority on strengthening the Anbu system. Acceptable?"